Bousselot is next on our agenda. Candidate for the Republican nomination for the State Senate District 23. The objection is based on insufficient number of signatures, presidency, and notarization of his affidavit of candidacy. This is a more complex objection with several parts that we need to consider in order. First, we must consider whether to accept Exhibit C and D, which our office did not receive until late yesterday morning.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a point of order just right off the start? I just want to let the panel know I am here as a private sector citizen. I'm on my own pay, not from the government or anyone else.
The panel has routinely rejected objections that arrive after the statutory deadline. Our office would not accept nomination petitions and or affidavits of candidacy that were submitted after the deadline. However, this is unique because part, but not all of the objections did arrive on time. Still, this negatively impacts the notification requirements of the candidate. After the candidate contacted us about the missing exhibits, we emailed the objector at 11:45 on Saturday morning. The objector replied to that email at 11:30 on Monday morning.
Questions from the staff?
What was in the two exhibits? Was it further information about the objection or new objections?
So what we received on Monday morning was Exhibit C, which was referenced in the original objection. It is an explanation of the signature disqualifications. Our office did also receive Exhibit D that was not explained in the original objection, and that appears to be screenshots from the county assessor's site explaining what is in Exhibit C, etc.
I think for the reading of the statute, it's the objection itself that has to be filed in the deadline. It doesn't speak to supporting documentation, so from my perspective, I think the Attorney General's question is a good one. It's not so much the exhibit, or excuse me, the objection as it was additional information. If it's important to other folks, I think that the resolution that was reached with Representative Andrews, if more time is necessary to review it, to reconvene tomorrow for this objection as well as the Andrews one.
We're ready to proceed. We think that it should be dismissed. You don't get an objection plus time, but we're prepared to defend today. If that's not the will of the panel, we would not want to wait till tomorrow.
So, Mr. Secretary, I think the key thing here, of course, is that objections have to be timely filed. That's a deadline, a hard and fast deadline. So if there are additional grounds in the late filed exhibits that were not in the original objection, meaning additional types of objection, I think we can't consider those. But to the extent that the objection is timely filed, I think we can go through and consider it, and we may or may not need to reach the issue of admissibility of those exhibits. Of course, people can offer things here today as well, but I think if it's raising a whole new ground for objection, we heard about objections for duplicates and residency and other types of issues, I don't think we could entertain a new ground, but I do think that if that was just additional documentation of a ground already raised, that it could be offered here today.
By chance, Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Secretary, that's my sister-in-law. She's working in her attorney records on the way. I could speak to the veracity of the complaint.
Do you have a comment on this topic? Or we move on?
The attorney record's on the way. I guess 20 minutes he could, but he's not here right now. I don't have a comment.
Keep going. Okay.
Just I confirm for your staff, I think that D is the same as this, that's the 7 that were raised in paragraph number 17 in the objection. That's my understanding. Correct me please if I'm wrong.
I was going to make the suggestion that we accept C and D and move on. Is that- okay, move on. With that, we'll move on to the challenge itself. We need to stay on schedule. Someone's got to speak if you wish.
Mr. Secretary, the complainant is my sister-in-law, so I did participate in the audit. I'm not completely aware of all the proceedings, but I also did read the complaint that was submitted. The crux of the issues on the nominations were, Senator Bousselot filed 121 signatures, 15 of which, when used the Find My Legislator tool, mapped outside the district into Senate District 21. Additionally, there were 7 signatures.
Information of the body, I'm here on my own, not being paid by taxpayers. Senator Bousselot is here with me, I'll defend himself. As far as the defective notarization, the individual is a notary, is registered with the Secretary of State's office. Information's been supplied to you, his issue number is 863213. Also, the statute requires the signature of the notary was provided. Any violations of Chapter 9B, the notary code, has nothing to do with Senator Bousselot's signature and the petitions that he submitted, the affidavit he submitted. But it also said that the statute requires that if there is a problem with the notary, that it is to be denied when he filed his paperwork, which the Secretary of State's office did not do. They accepted his paperwork correctly and accurately because he had the signature of a valid notary. For those reasons, that portion of the objection should be dismissed. Turning to the residency of Mr. Bousselot, we've been through this in 2022 when this panel appropriately and correctly rejected objections to Senator Whitford and Senator Rosenblum and found that the 60-day before an election requirement applied to the general election, not the primary. I would draw this panel's attention to the fact that the Secretary of State's office itself publishes in its primary candidate qualifications guide, it's candidate's guide from 2026, that residency for state senator requires, unquote, 1 year in Iowa, 60 days in the district at the time of the general election. Senator Bousselot followed that advice. In addition, on the nomination petition itself, I would draw attention to this statement. We believe the candidate is or will be a resident of the appropriate county, supervisor, legislative district within the time frame required by law, and then in parentheses, 60 days prior to the general election for state senate and state house candidates. That is guidance provided by our state commissioner of elections. Senator Bousselot followed that guidance. He followed Iowa's Constitution. He followed Iowa Code Section 39, and he followed the precedent of this panel in 2022. And we would ask the same to be done here and dismiss this portion of the objection. Finally, as to the signatures in question, Senator Bousselot has spent yesterday, because that information is not timely filed, and trying to track down anything that was a question or an issue, and I will turn it over to Mike to defend himself on that late information.
Thank you, Mr. Smithson. I want to thank the panel for your work today and thorough approach. I also want to thank the Secretary of State's office. We obviously reached out immediately. You were responsible for the weekend and for giving the information as quickly as you could once you received it from the objector. So received that information. Exhibit C is what listed by the objector the actual disputed signatures. And as we reviewed that, there are 15 signatures which we submitted 121 signatures. 15 signatures are outside of the district, and we do not dispute that. So as you look at Exhibit C, if you guys have that handy, I can make it easy for you. That'd be 1 through 4 on what they list as page 1, no dispute. 6 through 9 on page 2. Do not dispute that. And then page 6, there are 7 listed, be line 2, objection number 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So hopefully that's clear on what's not disputing those as outside the district. Going individually by each then disputed signature that we are disputing, starting on page 1, objection number 5, is line 12. And if you look at the actual signature page, they are saying the number listed by the elector is 962 Oakwood. Well, my argument is that.
Make sure we know what page.
Yep, sorry,
I
page-
wanna make sure I'm following along.
Page 1, line 12,
Thank you.
and that is listed, the objection is listed as 962 Oakwood does not exist. I don't know if that exists, but it was 1102 Oakwood for the signer who signed on line 12, 1102 Oakwood. And I have additional information here that I will give you. But as you look at it, as you examine that address, and you look at the signatures that are on the other parts of, so looking at the page 1, starting with signature number 8, it's 1005 Oakwood. And then it continues around to 1004 Oakwood. Well, if you look at the Google Maps or at the Polk County Assessor site, you can see that the adjacent properties are 1005 Oakwood, 1004 Oakwood, and then 1102 Oakwood. Right down the street is 1313 Oakwood. So we were going down Oakwood Drive in Polk City, and the signature that is in dispute, which is again line 12, is 1102 Oakwood, which was right in line and just sloppy handwriting.
And as I would remind this panel, in 2024, on objections involving opponent of Senator Dickey, this panel denied those objections based on things like legibility. This panel ruled they would not remove someone from the ballot.
Thank you, Charlie. So moving on now to this objection number 10, which is page 2, line 17. This is objected to as it's 1406 Prairie Ridge Drive. However, it's again a sloppy handwriting, and indeed is 1400 Prairie Ridge Drive. So as you look, and once again, the address is below it on page 2. We were working down Prairie Ridge Drive to gain signatures. And the signature from Mr. Conaway is contained there, and I have information that shows that the property is in Polk City, that it's owned by Mr. Conaway, and that Mr. Conaway is a registered voter in the district, and I'm happy to provide that to you. That's number 10.
Yes. Each of these will be put in the record.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Moving on to objection number 11. Line 19 on page 3. So this objection says that 2200 Northeast 11th Court does not exist. Well, the signature below it is from Northeast 10th Court, and the address that signed it was actually 2200 Northeast 10th Court. That property is owned by Jacob Pfeffer. If you look at the name, the signature, the last name is legible, and it is P-F-E-F-F-E-R. I will be submitting for the record that the Polk County Assessor site that shows Mr. Pfeffer owns that property, and that he was the one then that signed and living at 2200 Northeast 10th Court in Grimes, which is in the address. Moving on to objection number 12. The signature right below it on line 20 of page 3. This is 2500 Northeast 10th Court. And I've provided documents for, again, just the zero was quickly made as we were getting signatures, but providing for the record documents that according to the Polk County Assessor's website, with that address is in the county and the district. Moving on to page 4. Page 4, line 12, was signed by Jameson Hale, who listed 2400 Southeast Liberty Drive as his address. I'll be providing records here that show that on internet search, his address is listed as 2400 Southeast Liberty Drive, Unit 280 in Grimes, and that Mr. Hale, according to the Secretary of State's website, is registered to vote in the Senate district, and I've attached that verification as well as part of my exhibit for objection number 13. Moving on to objection number 14, which is page 5, line 12. This is a signature that was signed by Karen Walton. This is 2804 Southeast Weatherstone. A search of the Polk County Assessor site shows that 2804 Southeast Weatherstone Street in Grimes, which is in the district, is owned by Cameron and Karen Walton. And that I've also attached that Karen Walton is a registered voter in Grimes in the district. Both of those are given here for the record. And then finally, page 7, objection number 22 is line 1. You know, I'm lucky that I live in a district that is fast growing, and that is with new neighborhoods, and those subdivisions are built with district lines right in the middle of them. And this signature was obtained in one of those brand new neighborhoods in a brand new house. And as was referenced earlier, the Find Your Legislator app, by putting that address into the Find Your Legislator app, it does come up that it is in District 23. And so I will hand that out for you all. So I just want to say, you know, I appreciate the thorough approach, appreciate the hard work of the Secretary of State and all of you today. It sounds like that day today will continue to tomorrow, so thank you for that as well, and we hope to have this objection rejected.
In summary, this panel has historically shown deference to candidates as far as signatures and ballot access, to avoid hypocrisy. That sometimes is cut against me, but for this panel for years, and that's okay. But Senator Bousselot would respectfully request that the precedent that this panel has shown as recently as 2024 be granted here, and that he has sufficiently overcome this portion of the objection, and that he has met his burden in denying the objection on all 3 counts of the abuse of prejudice. Thank you.
Have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I think unless there is some reason that people think the information we have about the 7 addresses that were contested but are in that Senate district, it appears that the candidate has met the threshold for filing in that district, which is just 100 signatures. With the 15 that were out of district, that leaves 107. And so in order for disqualification to occur, all 7 of those objections would have to be well-founded, which I believe is not the case. So unless there's other evidence, I think this objection should be overruled.
Those in favor of objection, say aye. I'm sorry, Tiff,
No, I don't have anything to add.
all those in favor say aye.
Overrule.
Aye. Overrule.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We are going to move on to the ballot.
Thank you. Just for a point of clarification for panel, does that include all three allegations set out in the objection to be denied? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on, so, one of those three is conceded, is that right?
No.
You can, okay, just for the record, you conceded one piece of the signatures
So I didn't.
outside the district.
We did not concede the objection on
Right.
signatures. We're saying there were 21, or 22 signatures objected to.
Right.
15 of those.
15 you conceded is outside the district.
But the remainder were inside the district, and therefore I meant 100
Okay.
signature.
And are you wanting you're wanting a ruling on all three?
I believe that that would be appropriate,
Okay.
Mr. Auditor,
I
and
agree.
the rest of the panel, that the vote be cover the entire objection so that no parts of that are still out there.
Yeah.
To clarify, we restated the motion.
Well, I think the secretary's motion was to overrule the objection, which means you qualify for the ballot. And, looking at the possible grounds, that was what we focused on, but that overrules all of the grounds that were raised by the objector, including residency, including the notary issues that were raised, and including the addresses that were objected to, but we found that they were not, disqualifying. So it includes the entire objection.
Thank you very much.
Very,
We just need it on the record.
Duly noted.